Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of philosophy's most controversial thinkers, Friedrich Nietzsche. We're going to look at a sharp critique of the modern ideals that many of us hold sacred, things like equality, comfort, and even democracy itself.
Okay, let's just jump right in with one of Nietzsche's most shocking statements. He's not just quibbling with a political system here. No, he's calling the entire democratic movement a form of human decay, a process he believed makes us mediocre and ultimately less valuable.
So, you have to ask, right? Why would a mind like this attack an ideal that for so many of us is the very foundation of a good society? What on earth did Nietzsche see that maybe we're missing?
To really get what he's saying, we have to stop seeing Nietzsche as some kind of political commentator. He saw himself as a physician of culture. He wasn't just complaining, he was diagnosing what he saw as a profound illness that had infected all of modern Western society.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand. His real target isn't how we vote. It's a deeper psychological condition, a state of being that he called decadence. For Nietzsche, our politics are really just a symptom of this much deeper sickness.
So, what is this sickness he's talking about? Well, before we can understand his critique of society as a whole, we first have to look at his diagnosis of the individual.
Now, for Nietzsche, decadence isn't about, fancy living or moral corruption. It's a deep internal disunity. Think of it like a civil war inside your own soul, a failure to bring all the different parts of yourself into a strong, coherent whole.
He actually pointed to Socrates as a prime example of this. In Nietzsche's view, Socrates looked at his own appetites and passions as if they were a disease. In his response, to let this absurdly rational part of his mind become a tyrant, trying to crush all the other parts of himself instead of mastering them.
And this kicks off a really vicious cycle. The decadent person feels this inner chaos, so they declare war on a part of themselves, maybe their desires, their pride, their anger. But here's the catch. The very act of waging war on yourself is just a more extreme symptom of the original sickness. The so-called cure just makes the disease a whole lot worse.
Nietzsche's point here is that a healthy, thriving life doesn't see its own instincts as the enemy. For him, health isn't about fighting yourself. It's about organizing and integrating all your instincts into a powerful, unified whole, where your happiness and your instincts are actually on the same team.
Okay, so that's the individual. But how does this personal psychological diagnosis blow up to the level of society? Well, for Nietzsche, our big political and moral systems are just large-scale projections of this inner state. They are symptoms of a culture-wide decadence. He argued that big modern movements like democracy and socialism are basically the direct descendants of what he famously called slave morality. This is a value system that he believed was born from the resentment of the weak towards the strong, a morality that champions pity and has an instinctual hatred for power and excellence.
He basically laid out this whole family tree for the idea. He said it started with Socrates putting logic on a throne above instinct. Then it got supercharged by Christianity's revolutionary idea of equality before God. It was democratized even further by Luther's rebellion against the church hierarchy. And then finally, it was translated into modern politics by thinkers like Rousseau.
So what's the end game of this centuries-long project? According to Nietzsche, it's to erase all the meaningful differences between people, to sand down the highest peaks of humanity, to create a flat, safe, and totally predictable landscape. The goal, he warned, is to create a useful but ultimately mediocre type of person, a comfortable herd animal.
But here's the thing about Nietzsche. He wasn't just here to tear things down. As a physician, he also offered a prescription. He proposed a really radical and challenging alternative to our modern idea of what it means to be happy.
So his cure isn't a collective one, it's deeply individual. He's not trying to design a new government. The prescription is a personal philosophy, a way of life that's all about constant self-overcoming, about willfully embracing struggle. It's about how you live, not how you vote.
This really lays out two totally opposed visions of a good life. On one side, you've got the modern dream of happiness, a life of comfort, safety, and as little pain as possible. This is the well-being, in his very provocative words, dreamed of by shopkeepers, Christians, cows, women, Englishmen, and other Democrats.
And then you have Nietzsche's view. For him, true happiness, that feeling of a life that's really flourishing, wasn't found in a peaceful state of rest. Not at all. It was a dynamic feeling. It was the sensation of your own power growing,
the feeling you get in the exact moment you're actively overcoming a real challenge.
So all of this brings us to the final big question. Why do these ideas from a 19th century philosopher still feel so dangerous and so uncomfortably relevant today?
At the end of the day, his critique isn't some simple-minded call to just get rid of democracy. It's a much deeper challenge for us to be honest with ourselves and to look at the hidden costs of our values, the things we might have given up, and the kind of person our society quietly encourages us to become. And so he leaves us with this really provocative question that hangs in the air. In our very noble quest to make life safer, fairer, and more comfortable for everyone, have we, maybe, inadvertently sacrificed the very conditions that make human greatness possible? That's the challenge Nietzsche leaves for us.